Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on Mr. Harrigan's phone, a little horror movie about a phone starring Donald Sutherland, and I think it was written by Stephen King based on one of his short stories. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's what? It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 9 available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. You all right, Little Joan? Yeah. So, Donald Sutherland is back as an old man who befriends a young man. And so this is, let's read the synopsis. Some Connections Never Die from Ryan Murphy, Blumhouse, and Stephen King comes a supernatural coming-of-age story starring Donald Sutherland and Jaden Martell, written and directed to the screen for the screen by John Lee Hancock. And so he's friends with the old man, and he's being picked on in school. And he asks them, "What would you do, Mr. Harrington? How did you deal with somebody who took advantage of you?" And he goes, "Harshly." So there's a bully, and he helps Mr. Harrington with his phone, and then he passes away, and he buries Mr. Harrington with his phone, like puts it in his pocket at the funeral, and as a nice gesture, because that was what they bonded over. And of course, Mr. Harrington starts calling him from the grave, which is funny because I just wrote a story not unlike this in the Pineys, which is coming out in October. It's not quite the same, but it's a very similar concept. And so somehow the people who have been bothering him end up dead. I'm not sure if he kills them because of Mr. Harrigan's instruction, or that Harrington somehow arranged it before he died, and that he's somehow connected. So, and then he's got to cover it up. Oh, I think it's that Mr. Harrington is still somehow directing things from beyond the grave. So, written and directed by John Lee Hancock. That sounds like a cowboy's name, not a director's name. Let's see if there's any interesting things in the... Yeah, it's just based on... I'm going to say a short story. Yeah, short story by Stephen King. Okay, so there's some sort of short story. I mean, could this be a good movie? Yeah. It might be a little stretched out. It's only PG-13, which is interesting for a horror movie. October 5th is the premiere. I mean, if they keep the movie short, this is not a 2.5-hour movie. No way. Yes, Joe. I see you're yawning with your bad breath. This could be a pretty standard horror movie, I guess. So the first act, probably something like, the kid at school, and Mr. Harrington befriends him. He sets up his phone, and they're good buddies, and the kid's taking advantage of him. Somebody's blackmailing him in school or whatever. He's not very good at defending himself, and Mr. Harrigan's trying to guide him. And then at the end of the first act, he dies, and it's a shock. It's a loss. Then he starts getting texts and messages from beyond the grave. Does he actually see them, or is he imagining them? Probably that's a little bit of a thing in it. But then strange things start to happen. Somehow he's using the phone from beyond the grave to settle the scores with all his guys, or is he insane and he's actually doing it but blaming it on Mr. Harrington? And then I don't know how this ends. Could end with him digging up Mr. Harrigan to get at the phone, to destroy the phone, because that's the only way to keep him from calling. Or it could end with him being exposed as the crazy person he is, and he's actually committing all the murders, but he thinks it's in the phone. Maybe. But it's Stephen King, so for horror, He's pretty good. I love Donald Sutherland, of course. It's a shame he's probably only going to be in like the first act, maybe part of the second before his character dies. I don't think you're going to see him after that because that'll be more creepy if you never see him. He only like talks through the phone. Joan, will you just sit? We're almost done. I know you want to go. We'll go in a minute. We're going to go walkies. It'll be so nice. Yes. So is this going to be a good movie? It's on Netflix. Looks like a pretty standard horror movie. Basically a Twilight Zone episode, probably stretched out a little too long. I'm not sure how much you could do with this. Joan, just sit here. Yeah, I mean, you got the kid and Donald Sutherland, and once Donald Sutherland dies, I mean, I don't know, you got his dad. There's not a lot of characters in the damn thing, so I think you want to keep this at a tight 90. Yeah. Keep this at a tight 90. I think it could work. You know, you just go through all the motions of him discovering it and dealing with this entity beyond the grave that's killing all his enemies, and he doesn't want to get blamed, and he destroys his phone and does all these things to try to hide it, but in the end he has to go back, and I think that's the only way this movie can end. He has to get the original phone that he buried with him. So, yeah. Will it be good? It doesn't look bad. Don't look bad. I mean, I'm a little antsy about promoting Stephen King stuff these days, only because his recent antics in real life. But that being said, I mean, I don't really go to Stephen King for political takes, especially involving the Ukraine, if you know what I mean. But I think this could be decent. Yeah. And Donald Sutherland, he's a good actor. Oh, he's a good actor, yeah. Yeah. Mr. Harrigan's phone. I think it should be Harrington with a T, but Harrigan's phone, October 5th. So check it out at Netflix. And that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan, who won't sit still. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble, right, Joan? Yes. And you can buy my books if you'd like to support the channel. Thank you, and we'll see you